and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. My name is David Warburton. As ever, I am boined
You are
by my
boined.
industry colleagues. I'm joined by my industry colleagues, Mr. Ian Story and Mr. James Kendall. Lads, how has your week been? Let's go to you, James Kendall.
Very Bud Bobar. Thank you, David.
Worse, don't we, those intros? Worse every week.
You see what I did there. Pretty good, to be fair. It's quieter. We're going to talk about it, obviously, on the pod. Naturally quieter. But no, it's been good. Obviously, I popped to see you this week, Dave. Yes. We're launching our lettings business, and very kindly, Dave allowed me to spend a day in the office with his team and my business partner, which was really good. In terms of sales,
1 minute. Can I interrupt? I want to interrupt and just say that James Kendall bought lunch for my entire team this week, and they were very, very grateful. It was good, and it's for a place called Baker's. I had this chicken and chili wrap. Wow. I also had as JK was buying, I had a starter, I had a main, and I had a dessert for lunch. So.
Did you just want to say that? Yeah.
That was
okay. No, thank you.
Nice,
so, good week for Dave's team. They had a free lunch. But yeah, no, it's been good. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 shoots in at the moment over the next 10 days. It's got a price reduction on one from 7 to 650. And people say the market's quiet, but it's quiet if your price is wrong. So if you drop by a decent amount, then the inquiries will come. We've had one house we've done steady viewings on. No one's really wanted to take. Chopped 50k offers over, and then all of a sudden the floodgates have opened and there's loads of buyers out there. We've got an offer on a place at around 700 mark. It's a nice 2%er, as I always call them, the gold dust ones, lads. They're like the real gold dust.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Yeah, no, we've got offer on that. We're trying to wrap up. But yeah, okay, listen, it's been naturally a lot quieter. Because I think obviously a lot going on in the world, and we'll discuss it as we get the weeks out of the way. But we've been consistently busy. It's allowed us to get our market updates out a little bit quicker as well, because we've had a little bit more downtime. They've all gone out. 10K's gone out now. We've just literally finished writing all of our envelopes for our on the market letter that's going out as well, because we had a slight tweak on that with our case study, which won't mean anything to anyone that's listening, but the on-market letter we sent out, we actually featured a case study of a house we sold recently. I just wanted to tweak that because we'd actually staged and styled it and actually put a bit of that on the letter. But no, all good. Yes, it is quieter. I've spoken to quite a few people across the industry that have been experiencing similar things. So yeah, that's my week. Rather than flipping into you, Mr. Story, I'm going to flip to you, Mr. Warburton. Yeah. My son Harry, bless him, he's got nicknames for you two.
Oh God,
what they are?
Yeah, I can guess.
They're really funny.
Yeah, for me, probably Legend.
Yes, Legend. You're staring at me and thinking about what he might call me, looking at all my facial features and thinking, what might Harry be saying about? No,
I'm sorry, mate. It's not that deep.
Oh, okay.
So you are Dave Bread.
Makes sense.
And Ian, you are Ian Book.
Ian Book?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like,
crack the code.
Top banter there, has. Anyway, Dave Bread, how's your week been? Apart from a great lunch.
We had a really special guest this week. Yes, it was very good, and I enjoyed you coming over, JK. It was nice to spend the day with you, and I hope that you got what you needed out of it. I know Ian felt a bit left out, but he doesn't have a lettings business. You know what I mean? Doesn't have a lettings business, and he never buys lunch. So
true.
We can't invite people who do that. It's quite simple, or who act in that way. So no, it was good. Good week in a sense. I mean, it feels, like I said to you lads, it feels quiet, but very much quality over quantity. That's how it feels right now. So no sales at all on Burton James this week, but 2 very good offers, one of which is my £2.5 million, which is acceptable, just going through due diligence. So that'll be a sale that I'll be talking about most likely next week. And lads, that will be an incredible fee. and I might elaborate a bit more on that next week because I have told you off air about that. But unbelievable fee on that one. Comfortably will be our best. We've got some. We've got four instructions this week, which is brilliant. Given the go ahead on 4, 3. So this is like sign of the market, really. I mean, 3 of them need to go on the market now. There's a deliberation for everybody, I think, and if you're in a position as an agent where you don't necessarily have to launch now, and the client is in a position where they don't have to launch now, I think there is a serious argument to say, do you put it on now? I know it is. It risks your statistical data going down. Conversion rates will be poor. Instructions won't exist. But I really do think that there's an argument to say, do you wait? And it's quite a unique set of circumstances in a way. I know that we're used to having outside events that influence people's decision making and can sometimes make the market quieter or busier, whatever. But I do think the circumstances this year are a little bit different. Obviously, there's a lot of talk with the budget, and there's no question it's causing a lot of uncertainty. The big thing is any event usually has a bit of a quiet period leading up to it and then a quiet period after. It just so happens that the period after is Christmas. So, really, is there any point launching a house in December? Honestly, do we believe that? I'm not sure. Ian, I know you mentioned, I think the Boxing Day launch, you feel like it might be a little bit saturated, which again is a debate in itself. But certainly between Christmas or New Year or New Year, generally, every year brings that New Year, new start mentality. So I think that's it. But of the 4 that I've been given the go ahead on Burton James, 3 of them need to go live now, purely and simply because they have timescales to meet. So extremely motivated vendors. So we're going to launch those. We're doing take-ons on all 3, I think, next week, and we're going to launch them as soon as we can. And then one of them just said, "Look, no rush. Let's launch it at the right time." So we're going to wait until that period between Christmas and New Year. We locate. We've had 3 offers, 2 sales, 3 instructions, which is nice. So overall, it is quieter. It is quality over quantity, revisiting old valuations, continuing the lead generation strategy that we have in place, which has helped us get into a position where when it is a little bit quieter, we're not sort of panicking. And as you've alluded to there, JK, we've got the on-market letters going out or have gone out on the brands, and really like the style of those this time, what we've gone for. And I think it'll get a lot of people thinking. I know that some of the members are having great results on both that and the not on the market letter already, which is great to hear. So yeah, as I said, lads, quality over quantity is my saying for this week. What about you, Mr. Ian Story?
For me, the watchwords for this week are quality over quantity, and it's really been brought to the fore this week. We've not got swathes of sales, but those that are happening are good. Good solid 2% sales. Pipeline's still good. We've hit our minimum target for the year already. We should do more than that. So, overall, the picture's good. I think if you look at what is the market doing now, it's pricing. I think you said it yesterday, Dave, didn't you? Bottom line is it's pricing. And there are plenty of buyers if the price is right. And if the price is slightly competitive, it will go for over. In the last week, we've sold 2, one at 8.90, one at 1.9, and both good fees. We've got a third viewing on one at 2.3 million on Saturday, listed property with land, and another viewing there as well from a guy who's already offered before viewing. He's got a house to sell, a nice house to sell. We launched 3 in the last 10 days, one at 950, one at 500, one at 600. They've all had loads of viewings. So the one at 500 and the one at 600 have all got about between 6 and 10 viewings booked on each one. And the one at 950 had a load of viewings and like 3 second viewings, and that'll have offers. So the market is definitely there, but it is all about price and obviously quality of marketing. I'm having so many conversations with people who are on the market with other agents at the minute. One slightly frustrating one from earlier this week. Basically, they went with another agent. I lost it on fee, and they went on for a bit more than I'd said. They put it on the market with this other agent. It was on for 8 weeks. They'd had no viewings up until the end of last week. No viewings in 8 weeks. And it's a really nice house, okay? So I had a frank conversation with the seller, sent him all the data again. I said, look, I think it's just 150 grand over where it needs to be. Get it on the million price point. But do that with us. Don't reduce it with them. Switch it to us. I'll rush it through for you so it's on dead quickly. He was like, okay, brilliant. I'm sorry we didn't use you originally. I wish we had. We've seen the error of our ways. And unbeknown to me, this other agent had a withdrawal fee in their contract. He didn't know that. He noticed that and then just told them to reduce it straight away because he didn't want to pay that withdrawal fee, which is frustrating, really. But ultimately, his impression of us is now amazing. He's like, I can tell you no more than the other agent does about the local market. He's a local GP, so he's really well connected with the right kind of people. I sent him our market update video yesterday and he was like, oh, that's brilliant. I'll send it out to all my friends. I'll WhatsApp it to all my friends now. So, you might not always get a listing, but if you give the honest advice, long term, you're going to win, aren't you? Because your reputation is upheld. So, and I've probably got another 3 to 4 properties at the minute that are on with other agents. They've not got the interest. And I think now is perfect time to be getting into these people because they're sat on the market. They're being told they've not got any viewings. They're being told it's the market and it's the budget, and it just isn't. If the price is right, there are plenty of buyers. One thing that we're saying to clients at the minute, and I think this was my original idea, was that if they wait for the budget and the budget brings in any stamp duty changes that might be brought in April, like they were last year, then it will be a good idea to list it immediately, like on the day of the budget. Try and get it sold.
Mate, that's a fantastic idea.
And
that was your idea, wasn't it?
I think that was my idea. And get it completed before the end of March because people will be cramming to get it through like they were last year. And if the budget doesn't announce anything like that, stick it on first week in January. So that's going down quite well. And that's enabling us to get stuff market ready now before the budget, in the next few weeks. I went to one yesterday that we got at 650 gold dust listing. And she was like, what about the budget? And I said all that to her. And she was like, that makes complete sense. She's another doctor. Intelligent people that you deal with, aren't they? And they understand, And I said, do the marketing now, stick it on if the stamp duty changes that come in April. If not, we'll do it just after Christmas. So I think overall, I'm in a good positive frame of mind this week. There are sales, there are listings, no question. You just got to be frank with people, and you've got to walk away from ones that are too expensive because at the minute you're definitely getting them back.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you've just touched on there as well is absolutely key. I think the market ready thing is important. So I had a conversation with someone yesterday who were going to do a launch between Christmas and New Year, and they were sort of deliberating, saying, "Well, will our house look a lot better in March and April, and will it sell better then?" And obviously, every house looks better in March and April. Of course, it does.
Yeah.
Leaves on the trees, the sun's out, etc. But everybody else is on the market then as well, thinking the same thing. So you're selling more in competition for a start, but a good agent will update photographs as they go anyway. So as the seasons change, you just change the photographs. You don't let them sit there. There's another good period coming up, lads, that I always find. Sort of that when you get to March and April, the photographs where there are Christmas decorations or snow on the roof or ice on the roof.
Yeah.
In March and April, that's low hanging fruit for me. We had one this week actually. Scott's been out to one on the We Locate brand, and they're on with another agent. And to be honest, the marketing's not horrendous. It's okay. But they don't have an EPC on the listing, and it's been on the market for 3 or 4 months. It was the easiest pickup for him. He literally went to the valuation because they've responded to a letter, took their EPC and said, did you know this wasn't listed? And a lot of people are quite energy conscious these days. And that was it. Signed, sealed, delivered. So just lazy marketing, I think, and lazy standards. And I think that'll come. But I think just getting them ready now is the key. And the argument is, do you launch now or do you wait? And I think the strategy that I came up with about launching it potentially on the day of the budget, if you have to sell, is probably the best one.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, isn't it? Because it happened last year. There were so many cramming in to get in for the end of March. It's true, isn't it? And it resonated with people. That it really resonated. So yeah, be honest and frank. And even if you lose the listing, you'll get it. I think at the minute you're very likely to get it back because they're just going on for far too much, aren't they, and not selling.
Yeah, I mean, the secret formula now for everybody, in my opinion, is the one that JK said the other week: getting people on banding below what they think they want to be on. I really believe that. I think it's the recession type feel strategy, lads. that we used back in sort of 2010, 2011, making people understand that property prices aren't what they were. We're in a transitional period, and that is your best way to generate interest. And then use test cases. So again, I had one yesterday. They're on the market with another agent at 700,000 offers over. That's just not the number. The number is probably 650. 650 sells it all day long. 675 is probably where it sits. But the mere fact that they're on offers over, and in fact, it's even worse. 699 they're on at 699,999. So the conversation we had was, what are your plans? And the plans are that they need to sell. They want to move to something bigger. And I'm saying, well, offers in excess of 650 will get interest on this house. There's no question about that. I think we'll get more people involved, and I think you might end up pushing the price up to levels where you need to be. But if you don't, guess what? You're buying at £1 million plus. So if you have to take a bit of a drop on yours, the drop that I'll get you off on your onward purchase will far outweigh what you lose on your house. So don't worry about it. And again, they've not really been given this advice. They've got all their eggs in one basket. They're thinking they have to sell for a certain amount, and they've not had their eyes open to what actually this whole transaction means. Because ultimately, especially if you're moving up, it's cost of change. And often you'll be better off by getting a bigger discount on your onward purchase than you would be just dropping a little bit on your own. So it's just making people understand all that. But the key is, if someone has to sell, truthfully, they need to get real, because the market isn't what it was. But as Ian has said, there are lots of buyers out there. It's just you've got to be on the right price point. It sounds like the most obvious thing in the world, but it's difficult for people to communicate that and get people on the bandings that they need to be.
I think a good exercise in the office as well with your team is going through some of the older stock that you've got, and if it's, say for example, use Ian's example at other agents at 1.15, why hasn't it sold? I'm not talking about other agent stock. I'm talking about our own stock. Why hasn't it sold? Okay, well, it's up at 1 million, 1.15. Does 1.1 sell it? Does 1,050,000 sell it? Probably. So the answer is it needs to be offers over 1 million to get people through the door, and just maybe going through that. And obviously we've changed up our kind of weekly meeting structure, and once a week we go through all of the properties that we've got. And sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it is just patience and waiting for it to happen. The more niche homes, it doesn't necessarily have to be just price, because sometimes you are waiting for somebody to come along and want, a thatched cottage, or somebody that wants outbuildings or something like that. So sometimes it can take a little bit of time for it all to kind of come to fruition. But ultimately, you've just got to go through your stock and look at, is it the price? Because it usually, with us, it's definitely not going to be the marketing. It's going to be the price. And there will be certain properties as well, I think, certainly at the upper end, where buyers are looking at the budget.
Yeah,
there's no two ways about that. I've had conversations with, and in this area, that's 2-3+ million. People are looking at that. If the stamp duty flips from the seller to from the buyer to the seller, that's quite a big impact. If there's CGT implications, that's quite a big impact. People that have been in a home for generations, where there's sort of 25, 30, 40, 50 years worth of CGT liability. I'd be very surprised if it does come in. Let's be honest, but equally, this is a Labour government, so nothing's really off the table, is it? Let's be honest. But that's a good exercise. Lads, anyone that's listening to this that is maybe what do I want to say, drowning a little bit in terms of panicking in terms of what to do next. Yes, the best time to start sending letters was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, but if somebody's sitting here now panicking, right, it's quiet, what piece of advice would you give them to take away from the pod today that they can implement?
What immediate steps to generate leads? Yeah,
so let's say, for example, I'm sat here today and I've got nothing on the board. I've got nothing in the pipeline. Well, nothing in the pipeline. I've got very little in the pipeline, but I've got nothing, no instructions on the board. I've got no real vowels booked in, not a lot of activity happening. What I just mentioned one thing there where you can go through your current stock with your team and work out what price it needs to be to sell. That's one thing immediately they could do. What's something else they could do?
I'd be going for stuff that's on with other agents currently, where you've got the contact details. As I was driving in this morning, I was thinking, we're door knocking stuff that's on with other agents, but I'm not actually sure we're properly milking the database, because I bet some of the people will have the number on street. So we should be ringing the people who are on with other agents, because they are sat on the market thinking they're never going to sell it, and they definitely can do. So that is what I will be doing. I will be focusing on, in terms of generating new stock, is what I'm talking about here. I'd be going for the people that sit on the market, because they're low hanging fruit. They want to sell.
Yeah, there's no question. There's so much stuff out there at the moment. I mean, I think on WeLocate, we target anything between sort of 250 up to maybe 500, and then on Burton James 500 plus. On WeLocate, there's literally hundreds and hundreds of opportunities. On Burton James, not as many, probably half that, probably 150, something like that. But they are there, so the low hanging fruit. But to be quite honest with you, JK, whilst people need to affect the pipelines and affect the diaries now, there also has to be a little bit of reality. I think it is a quieter period in the sense of what people want and need to do, and they're not getting the advice. So I think there's a combination of things that people could be doing right now. I think the obvious one, like I've said, I think you have to put time aside every single day to go after that low hanging fruit. We're not robots. To go knocking on doors for 8 hours a day is challenging, to say the least. You're probably not going to have the headspace for it, the mindset for it. But it needs to be part of your strategy. There's no question. And I think that would be, for me, the word to use: strategy, structure, and strategy. I think you need to structure your diary so that you've got a marketing mix that you're going to do that particular day. Ian's just touched on your own database. There'll be loads of house to sell opportunities in there.
Yeah,
There'll probably be lots. I think you'll find that if you go through your database, there'll be lots of poor registrations. So people who ring up for viewings, and they'll just say they want to view a certain house. Have we got are all the details properly registered? It might be people that have just emailed in on Rightmove. If you're on street, it pulls them all through anyway, and they might not have responded to various emails that you've sent out. There'll be loads of stuff that you can do to tidy up your database and find out who your active your buyers now that have got things to sell. So I think you need to put a bit of time into working on your own database, without a doubt. Obviously, the low-hanging fruit, door knocking, and direct mail. I mean, Jesus, we bang on about direct mail, but where's selling? Where are the areas that are selling? Can you do some test cases? Can you send out a market update to your local area? Simple as that. On-market letters work beautifully. Buyer letters beautifully. I would say buyer letters are probably one of the biggest returns on investment you can do in terms of the numbers that you need to stick out to actually generate valuations. There's quite a lot, but I think, for those that...
What do you do with a buyer letter then? So if someone's listening to this and never sent a buyer letter before, what is it?
Okay, so I think you probably, if you're experienced in this agency or not, I think you may well have seen that some of the letters that get sent out in bulk, particularly by corporate agents, are Mr. and Mrs. K are looking for a property in Bolton, and we would love to show them your house. Yours ticks a lot of their boxes, not very, very generic. And all the time, I think people can see through it. A detailed buyer letter behaves a lot differently and yields much better results. So if I've got a buyer, let's just say I've got James Kendall, he wants to come and buy a house, and he's got 2 kids, dog, he likes walking, he needs to be near a certain school, and he has a budget up to 850,000. He's nothing to sell, and he wants to by July next year so that his kids are ready and settled to get into a school by September. There's a story there.
Yeah.
So you need to adapt the letter to tell the story about James Kendall. So it would be, I have a client, James Kendall, he is looking for a detached home. He's specifically looking in the Bromley Cross, East Edgerton, and Chapeltown areas. and he has a budget up to 850,000. He needs 4 bedrooms, only has 1 child, but he often has family staying over, so that 4th one is really important. If it's only 3 beds, but there's the ability to adapt another room in the house, that might work for him. He also likes the outdoors, so he needs a house close to walking trails, and he also needs to be within a 10-minute drive of Cannon Slade School. James needs to be in a house by July 2026, because his kids are going to be starting term in September 2026, so he wants them settled. You're receiving this letter because your house is likely to tick a lot of boxes for James. If you are thinking of selling in the near future, could you give us a call confidentially? If it's not for you, please discard this letter. But before you do, let anybody else know that you might think is moving very soon. And you select bespoke properties that you think that James Kendall will like. So there's no point. Like I've had it before where buyers will come over to you and say, "Yeah, I'm looking in Bolton." Well, Bolton's massive; it doesn't work for me. We need to be really niche and get into the micro areas, micro postcodes. Where are you actually looking, JK? What do you want and what do you need? And what that will do is bring the volume right down, but what it will do is bring the quality right up. And I promise you, if you do enough of these, you will get some great results. The best one we had was 99 letters, 7 responses, 1 bullseye, and the other 6 all into nurture campaigns. 2 of them came to the market. For the cost of 199 letters and stamps and envelopes. And that was tens of thousands of pounds worth of business. And, that's a regular occurrence where you do get leads from it. So in a buyer's market, guess what? Work with your buyers. There's loads of them looking for properties that can't find houses. And in the background, they've often got houses to sell. They might be portfolio landlords, JK. There's plenty that you can be doing there. So I think going back to what I said, you've got to have a proper consistent lead generation strategy. And even though you might be panicking right now because your diary is quiet and you need to get some different results, which I understand, you should also be putting your diary to really structure your lead generation strategy now going into 2026 so that you can fast forward and never have this problem again. Because, I've mentioned it a few times on the pod in recent weeks. We're quiet or quieter than we have been. We are, and I say again, quality over quantity. But it doesn't affect you anywhere near as much when you've got the pipelines that we've got, because we've got that mid to high end brand. And obviously, when you're only going to, like this week, I think, is it four valuations this week? Not a lot at all. But the cost of those, the actual value of those valuations is worth tens of thousands of pounds to the business. So it's a nice place to be. I
also think, again, it's kind of related to this, but it's not. But when you're looking at your fees and you're still, if you're still one of those agents that's charging 1%, like with everything that's happening at the moment, where things are falling through, and obviously buyers are a lot more fickle. When you're putting deals together, if your average fees like $4,500, selling 10 houses and half of them fall through, you could do a hell of a lot of work. And, for effectively 45 grand's worth of work, and then 45 grand ends up becoming 22 grand. And then before you know it, you've done an awful lot of work for 22 and a half grand, when, if you charge a decent fee, like, there's ones that we've got, in the gold dust range at sort of 700-ish, where, we're getting 2% fees on, and, yes, they might not all go through, but the reality is, when they do go through, as Dave said, they land, tens of thousands, Well, I go back to where we were as a business probably 10, 15 years ago, and our average fee was 1,800 quid. You're jumping through all sorts of hoops and doing all sorts of work for 6 months for 1,800 quid, hoping it's going to come off. And it's just not a fun place to be, is it? It's just, you need that volume in order to try and make any money. But the reality is, because when the market changes like it is now, and you haven't got the volume, you're doing a shed load of work for 1,800 quid.
I mean, that's so true. We had 2 completions Friday last week. They both dropped in on Monday. I think combined fees was about 45,000, something like that. And you just think, my God, back in my previous life with iMove, like that would have been 2,200 or something. You just can't compute, can you? The difference is absolutely staggering. As well as all these quick wins, people really need to take a good hard look at how they look. I know this is you. This is your saying, Dave, and we've said it so many times. But how you look and the people you're attracting should occupy quite a bit of your time at the minute, unless you look like an agent that can attract these houses. Because it's all very well getting quick wins and going out and trying to list stuff that's on the market with other agents. We're able to do that because of how we look now and how we've established ourselves, like you two have. So some of your time at the minute, if you're quieter, I would suggest you are looking at how you look.
That's what I mean. I think, look, I've been there with the lower end brand, just working out then, funnily enough, we had a fee drop in last week. And back in 2017, when we started, we would have had to sell 22 properties to get this one fee, fee.
Amazing.
That's selling them, mate. That's selling them. That's not listing them. That's selling them.
No. Yeah.
So imagine how many would have had to
list
and how many would have had to value. Yeah.
60.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Amazing. Totally ridiculous.
Yeah, in fact, you know what, Jay? Just focus on that slightly, because when last week when you said we'd have to sell 22, I thought, flipping heck, 22. But actually, you've got to value 60 houses, haven't you?
Yeah.
To get one
absolutely.
fee. That's staggering. Yeah. That's an amazing little calculation. That.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and that's when we were obviously right at the bottom end of our fixed fee days. But even if you up that a little bit to probably what is close to being the national average fee, certainly, or maybe in the northwest fee for where we are, it's still probably 10 sales. Crazy.
Yeah.
Which again is a stupid amount of valuations, 25 valuations maybe. So I think, like I've said, you can get quick wins. If you said to a valuer, if your life depended on it, could you go and list 2 houses this week, 3 houses this week? The answer is probably yes. And what would they do? They'd go and knock on everybody's door, drop letters every single minute of every single day, do everything they possibly can. But that's merry-go-round mindset. You see it all the time. I mean, we made a bit of a joke about it last week, and I don't like joking about it when people are not busy, but you can tell when they're not, because the same things come up on your Facebook feeds and Instagram when they start giving advice on how to stage a property and how to do this, that, and the other with a house sale and all that sort of stuff. And it's all useful, really good, but it should be done all year round. That it should just be done all year round, and the lead generation strategy should be done all year round. So as much as, yes, you need to go and get the low-hanging fruit and keep the numbers, keep the money rolling in and get yourself set up for success, I think the bigger picture needs to be looked at. And like you've said, if you've got ambitions, certainly of jumping into the higher end, but even if you're in the lower end and not getting what you need right now, I think the honest conversation needs to be had. How do we actually look? What are we attracting here? Are we consistent across the brand? Are we doing the same things on every single listing? Or are we cutting corners because we think it'll just sell anyway? I mean, how many houses have you listed in the gold dust range that that if you just stuck a load of photos on without twilights and video, it would sell?
Of course.
There's loads of them, but we still do it.
Yeah.
It never crosses my mind not to do a brochure, because I know it'll sell really quick. Just get done.
No.
Because people need to see and know that you do the same thing every single time. I can't tell you the amount of conversations I have with homeowners now when they see us, the compliments that we receive on the quality of our marketing. People do see us as the sort of higher end agent, but it's not come overnight. It came through honest conversations 2 or 3 years ago about the other brand not being right for it and restructuring where we need to be. And I think that's something else that you could really do. I'd have honest conversations with yourself, sit down, just take a few days to run through your listings, run through your competition, look at what are the high-end agents getting, and how do they look across the country. And can you do that? Can you change things and make yourself look more attractive to the type of client that you actually want to attract? And then as I say, I genuinely would spend quite a bit of time assessing your actual overall lead generation strategy for all year round, not just now for the low-hanging fruit. Have some time set aside for that, but really tune in to what next year looks like in terms of regular activity, because, preach it to death, but it works. It just works.
So I think it's probably a good place to leave it, lads. With obviously quick plug maybe for the mastermind in 4 weeks. We're all going to get together with the TCA members and start putting together the plan for everyone for 2026 to absolutely smash it out of the park. I know last year there was a lot of sort of oh yes moments that happened in the room, and people are really reaping the results now. Anything you'd say to anyone that's thinking about coming in the next 4 weeks?
Well, I've said it a few times. I've given shameless plugs for TCA over the last few weeks, and I just feel that this one is as good as the other masterminds are. This one is a biggie because it is all about planning ahead for the future, making sure that you do set up for success in 2026. The biggest factor for me, JK, is that there's nobody in the room that's going to be competing with you. What is absolutely evident, and when you've got a community group like this, you're not suffering in silence, because when we're on a private WhatsApp group and there's a lot of people being really successful in there, there's also a lot of people facing a few challenges. What I can promise you is that the picture is the same for everybody. Fickle buyers, stock not selling, annoying vendors, slow conveyancing process, fall through rates higher than they have been. Everybody's in the same boat, but guess what? There's always someone there to help you along and offer support. So that's a big thing for me. But I also think, like I said, if you're going into 2026 and you're in a position right now, think about it right now, where you might actually be struggling for listings, you might be struggling to get stock reduced and sold. There's no better time. There's no better time in December to really have a good look at your business and how it's performed this year and how you can set it up for success in 2026. I think it's, for me, one of the best masterminds. It's just my opinion, because it is one that really does set you up. And after that, we'll also go out and enjoy a few drinks, which is even better.
Yeah, I also think, looking back to the mastermind we did last December, it was really interesting throughout this year to see, in particular, those agents who really implemented what we went through, to see the success they've had this year. Obviously naming no names, there's quite a few, isn't there, who have really had a good year and have really moved on with things. And it's those who really implemented everything. And it's really great to see, isn't it?
Yeah. 100%. And just finally, I'll be honest, I think I said it last week or the week before. It's not for everyone. I think, but if you've got major ambitions of succeeding in the mid to high end, and you are committed to the cause and you are prepared to implement and be patient, because again, lads, you can get instant results, and people do. The results that we see coming through on the group are really nice to hear and see. But in reality, you've got to implement and be a little bit patient. And it'll all start with what you were just talking about before, Ian, about how you look and stuff like that. You can't just do this and have a really average looking brand or anything like that. It's got to be right. Let's be honest. But if you're prepared to put the work in, if you know in your heart of hearts you're going to work hard and implement, I can't stress, you will be in a really great place in 12 to 24 months. But you've got to start planting the seeds today. And maybe one final thought is, if you're in a position now that you look back 12 months ago and you were in a similar position then, something's not right. Something needs to change. And
take action.
Take action now. So as much as you need to go after all this low-hanging fruit, it's that merry-go-round mindset that I just talked about. You might go and win a few instructions now, but where will you be this time next year? Will you honestly have moved the needle? I'm not so sure. So I think now's the time to start thinking seriously about it. And if you really, really, really want to succeed in it, I promise you, even outside of myself, JK and Ian, there are some brilliant, brilliant members in the group who have proved it works really, really well. And if you want to be there, I'd honestly encourage you to consider what the December Mastermind would bring.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks very much, lads. Thanks for everyone for listening. We will see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.